What I've got for you today is a video showcasing how powerful Boa can really be in the right hands. I'm going to be showing you a deck list, talk about the pros and cons of the deck, and give you a few games of Boa in action. One of the games being against Joshua Boosters TCG, who got third place at Worlds this year. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel as well. Link is going to be in the description below.
Heart Pirates TCG.
We got about 20 of these double stitch rubber playmats left on my store. Check out moonlighttcg.com to get them. Thanks. All right, guys. So this deck loses in one of two ways. The first one is not being able to cleanly answer what your opponent's going to do in a timely manner, usually on curve. The second way is, having 8 cards in hand and not one counter between them. So we fixed this deck to make sure it's not playing too many bricks, and we're also playing to, have as many answers as possible, while also making sure we have enough cycle to get rid of our dead cards whenever we have them. So that's why we're playing the 2 Daz Bones. On curve, this deck wants to go first, so on curve, the Daz Bones is going to be very crucial in getting some dead cards that are not needed in certain matchups. So for example, against a deck like Zoro, on 5 Dawn, instead of playing a Zeph, which is also for Zoro as well, but depending on our hand, we can play the Daz Bones, get rid of one of these red rocks, or get rid of this Kaido or something like that, and be able to really filter our hand whenever we really need to. And it's a 6k body, which is a nice 1k counter. 2 Mihawk, obviously it's searchable with the Sengoku, so we don't need to play more than 2. We're playing the 3 or the 4 blocker Doflamingos because we want to see what's coming up on the top. That way we're not drawing into a bunch of dead cards off our leader effect. We can kind of sequence our draws. Obviously Kaya to help filter some dead cards from our hand. I would love to be able to play more searchable 2Ks, right? So like Buggy and Mihawk, but because this deck really bricks, these Kayas are very necessary in order to be able to win. Be able to filter your hand. Zeph is for 3 cost characters. It's another 5 Dawn on curve turn. It's really good at bouncing cards like, what is it called? It's really good at bouncing cards like Tashigi. It's really good at bouncing 3 cost Chopper, 3 cost Nami, things along those lines. So it's very powerful on curve. Playing 2 of the Soga King for filter, right? It doesn't hit a 7 like the Doflamingo here, but it helps us draw 2 trash 2, so it can help get rid of some dead cards and keep us alive and healthy. 2 Kaido, obviously this card's not searchable, but this card doesn't come up as much. Generally, honestly, you can win this game by just having like a Doflamingo and a Mihawk, and then just for the rest of the game, just like red rocking or 3000 worldsing, basically whatever your opponent plays or something along those lines, and you just start kind of compiling bodies your opponent can't really deal with too well. 4 Sengoku, of course, just for the advantage. 3 Jozu, 3 Mihawk. Now we're playing Mihawk because worst case scenario on our 4 Dawn turn, if we really need to cycle our hand, like I said, we really lose to just dead cards. Like for those of you guys who are in our Discord, you guys have seen me test this deck out a ton, and we lose to just having 20 dead cards in hand, and we just lose. So this is the best way for us to avoid that, just having as many options to filter as possible. 3 blocker laws just for the chump blocker. 2 Dofis, of course, for Beckmans and things like that. 4 Law, of course, for Buggy. 1 Gum Gum Rain for the for the filter, of course, and then 4 3000 Worlds, 4 Red Rock. Now a lot of you guys are like, why no Grab Blade? Why no Grab Blade? I have not found that Grab Blade has been super necessary at all. I have not missed it once, because now that Tashigi's in the meta, Grab Blade was realistically for like the Dofi match, and then Bonnie, but now like green decks can just rest the Tashigi and protect from Grab Blade, so you're basically paying 7 Dawn to bottom deck a Tashigi, whereas realistically, Grab Blade is super good. 3000 Worlds does the same thing, but it's cheaper, and you can play it earlier, so you can get rid of problem cards like the 3 cost Chopper, or whatever card. If they play Tashigi early, you can just bottom deck it before now you can red rock their kid, if they don't have another Tashigi. So that is the deck. We're gonna go to the games now. All right, so this is the game against Joshua Boosters. Now, I did not know this guy had a YouTube channel until I was like, why does his name sound so familiar? And then I looked him up and found that he had a YouTube channel, and then I found that he did, got 3rd at Worlds. So obviously this guy's an absolutely insane player, because doing well at Worlds, it's got to mean something, right? I go ahead and play a Kaya here. Like I said, I'm just trying to filter out my hand. Now, of course, in this deck right here, you're going to see me playing Boa Hancock. Guys, as always, in all my videos that I do, I'm just testing out different variants and finding out what works. And then the deck list that I show you guys in the beginning is going to be what I have found is the combination of the best group of cards that I can find, right? So the variant that I found is the best. That's going to be what I'm going to give you guys, right? So all the stuff that I do in these videos is just for testing. Now, I will say the Boa actually came in very clutch. The Boa came in very clutch during this game right here, and I'm very happy that I decided to play it in this version. You know, it could come back in the future, but what I didn't know is now that now that the Shanks is playing the 5-cost Luffy, I realized that the Boa can't actually answer that on 6 Dawn. So when I first put the deck together, I completely forgot about Boa's secondary effect right there. So that's why I wasn't playing it in the newer version right there, because I ran into the problem of on 6 Dawn I wanted to play the Boa to answer the Luffy, and I literally could not. So he's gonna swing 7 into life here. Now I believe I just blocked this. Like I said, guys, you want to stay pretty safe, pretty healthy, all things considering. So it's the best thing for you to do to be able to just block 7k attacks. That way you don't give them resources when you don't have to. This deck also plays Hody Jones sometimes, so I want to get value whenever I can. Now playing the this is a mistake right here. So I played the Boa, and I stunned the Sanji. I pinned the Sanji down so it couldn't attack. But then I bottom decked one of my guys, and then I realized that, wait a second, you know, I can't draw off that because I have 6 cards. So a little bit of a learning curve for sure. And I'm going to go ahead, and I believe I'm going to counter this one with the 2k and I believe the pudding, because I want to bounce back the Sanji blocker in a second. That's the goal right there. Now this 7 I'm going to of course have to take, unfortunately. I think maybe what I do instead actually is just bounce the Luffy back. I don't remember. I think I test out with just like an 8 into the I think I tested out with just an 8 into the Luffy to see what he does. If he counters, then I'm going to block. Or no, he blocks. Okay, perfect. So I think he just bounces it back. Or I think I just bounce it back here with the Dofi. So I think I swing 5 into leader. Yep, 5 into leader, just to make sure that I'm going to get the value that I need to get. And I'm going to bounce back the Luffy, draw a card. And this is what this deck does, by the way. This deck just compiles these big bodies that stick to the board. And these decks are, this deck right here is definitely equipped to handle Kid pretty well. Because Kid does not have the ability. I'm surprised I don't block this. I guess I just take this. I'm surprised I don't block it. Kid doesn't have the ability to really beat this deck most of the time, I would say, because we have too many bodies that can contest Kid, as well as, like, you know, Red Rock and things that can deal with the Tashigi. So he ends up Molgunning the Sanji, or I'm sorry, the Doflamingo, and then he swings for 6 into leader, and he's going to swing a 7 into leader, I'm pretty sure. No, a 5 into leader. He's going to replay a Sanji or a Rosinante, I believe. Yep. So this is when I actually do a test swing into his Luffy right here, just to see what's going to happen. I don't want to attack into the Sanji first, because if I attack into the Sanji, he's going to have more cards to be able to protect the Luffy. So before I do anything at all, what I really want to do is just go 8 and see if he lets it go, see if he gives me some cards, whatever it is. Yeah, I attach one. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I just missequenced here for sure. My bad, guys. My bad, guys. A little bit of a blunder, I would say. So this guy is probably like, this guy's mentally retarded. But yeah. So I guess 8 first. I think actually, you know what? I think I sequenced in that way because I wanted him to think he can protect the Luffy. So I gave him the extra card to be able to protect the Luffy and use his counter, because I didn't want him to use the Kid Wall. I actually think that was my philosophy right there, because I knew I was going to bottom deck the Luffy either way. So I wanted him to use his cards to be able to protect the Kid Wall. I believe that's what I ended up doing, but I'm not entirely sure. Now he plays the Kid, doesn't have as many cards in hand now to protect the Kid. And I think his philosophy on this, guys, was, I think what he wanted to do was he wanted to protect the Luffy and apply enough pressure so that the Kid, when it comes down, it's going to be really hard for me to crack back at the Kid and be able to survive long enough if it keeps the Luffy on the board. I believe that was his philosophy, but I'm not entirely sure. So what I go ahead and do is I go ahead and play Law. Law bounces back my 2k, which is fantastic to play a Kaya, or I'm sorry, to bounce back his Tashigi, and then I Red Rock his what is it called? I Red Rock his Kid, and he plays another Kid, which definitely sucks, to say the least. And luckily for me, I have this Boa in hand. This Boa is super, super, super important. He ends up playing a Virgo. Virgo is going to go ahead and find a 2-cost event, which is a very, very, very good card. Now, I believe I give him oh, I'm surprised I give him the 2K, or the Dofi blocker there. But I thought maybe I was going to play the... Yeah, I definitely, in retrospect, guys, I should have given the Kaya there, because I should have played the Boa to pin down the Kid, and then I should have played the Doflamingo just to be like an extra blocker. I think that's what I was thinking, but I don't know. I end up This is not good. I'm sorry to give you guys like the bad advice here, but I end up playing a character before attacking. I don't know why I did this. I don't think there's any excuse for why I did this right here. I'm not gonna lie to you. I guess to see what I was gonna draw, but I think my intention was to see what I was gonna draw off of Boa before committing the rest of my Dawn, but I think it's better to just leave him in the dark, you know, at least just attack with the Mihawks. But I guess it makes sense in that way because I figured out like if I don't what is it called? If I don't know what I'm going to draw, and if I draw into a blocker, then I would be mad using my count or using my Dawn to play characters and not just play a blocker. I think that's my philosophy on it. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm not entirely sure. It makes sense. It makes sense. So he's going to swing 7 into leader right here. I'm not worried about him cracking back at my board, so I'm going to just counter out of this because I don't know if he has like any like crazy cards to like boost power or anything like that. So I wanted to play it safe. Like I said, this was like pretty... I played this game a couple days ago, like maybe about a week ago at this point, and I was still pretty new to set 10 and RG Smoker because I didn't know what people played. I didn't know if they played like, you know, back in the day people used to play like Fiery Doll and shit like that, you know, so to boost up their leader. So I had no idea what to expect. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, is he gonna try to go for a game with Rosinante? I'm just gonna counter out right here. That way there's like no way he can go for a game right here, and he just concedes right there. So good play right there. Congrats for your world's finish. Go check out his YouTube channel. Let's go to the next game. All right, guys, so this is against Usopp right here. Now, funny enough, I thought this was going to be a really hard matchup for me, but it turns out it was actually relatively easier than I thought. Maybe because this guy didn't draw amazing. Maybe, you know, he wasn't very good. I'm not entirely sure, but I know one thing for sure. And this is the version I was testing out, the Luffy, by the way, the 4-cost Luffy. For those of you guys who don't know, he basically discards 2 cards and just bottom decks a character on the board. And if your opponent has 1 character on the board, then it just bottom decks it. So it was technically my way of like filtering my dead cards from my hand. And then again, Shanks, a lot of the time they only play 1 character per turn. So if they only had a Shanks on the board, it's like a 4-cost Red Rock essentially. Turns out there's just too many decks that played Searchers. And if Shanks played like the Straw Hat version, then it was kind of cooked because I wasn't gonna bounce back their Nami, and yeah, it was not working as I wanted it to, which was very unfortunate right there. I think I just swing 7-8 into leader right here. That's the issue with Usopp, by the way, is it doesn't like having a ton of cards in hand because it can't get its leader effect off, which is half of its effect. So attacking really big into it definitely helps out a lot. Because they can't get any value when you bounce their stuff. So we're gonna stay as healthy as possible, like always. I'm gonna bounce back as Luffy, draw off it. Like I said, he doesn't get the ability to protect the. Draw a card, and I'm gonna swing into the Rebecca here for 6 because while the Rebecca is not threatening, it's the fact is he has to use 2 cards to get out of a Rebecca attack. Whereas if I just swing 6 into leader, he just gives me a 2K. So that's my philosophy on that right there. I believe this is the turn where I just play the Mihawk right here, bottom deck his 2K, establish a big body. He gives me 2 1Ks from his hand. I guess it's just to get lower in cards. I'm not entirely sure, but you know, giving me two 1Ks is completely fine with me. He goes into a second Red Rock right here, which I was pretty surprised about. I'm not gonna lie to you right there. But I end up playing, I believe, the Boa because I can bottom deck his Leo and then draw a card. I believe that's the route, or I play the Kaido here because the Kaido is pretty huge as well. The Kaido is actually massive because I can bounce back his blocker. I guess it didn't matter either way. He's just going to draw a card. I'm going to play the Boa, just stun it in place. And I'm going to play the Pudding, and then I guess I'm just going to Pudding him for 6. I don't know why I did that, but I guess it's better than playing the Law. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I've been making some questionable plays in this video, so I shouldn't even post this. I don't know why. I guess it's because like that technically the advantage he got from drawing the card off Barto was like eliminated. I think that's why I did it. I have no idea, guys. I'm not gonna cap to you on that one. I think I was just having fun with this game right here because I wasn't expecting to win anyway. So I was like, hey, if I can win, then it's cherry on the top. If I can't win, then I'm not putting it on the channel. So I think that was my philosophy. So again, with the sequencing, it's really important. I swung 12 into his life right there because I wanted him to take it. So when I bounce back his Kyros, he doesn't get the effect to draw a card. And I just established another Kaido. In this deck, the reason that Usopp has such a hard matchup in the decks like purple is because it just has no answer for like their massive guys, right? And now that Ice Age is gone, they really have to do tricks on it to be able to beat you know, a lot of these decks right here. So I believe I'm just gonna go ahead and Dofi. I think I'm gonna go 12 into leader right here. Yeah, I think probably the right route right there was just playing Dofi and bouncing the Frankie. I think that was just better overall. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I considered bouncing the Cavendish. I'm not entirely sure. So basically, I think the goal here is just to play this guy, bounce back his blocker, draw a card, swing 12 into leader. I considered swinging 12 into Cavendish, and I was like, can this guy Kongun me? You know, can this guy Kongun me? That's what I was thinking. And I think I checked his trash and was like, okay, it doesn't matter because I have Red Rock and 3,000 Worlds coming up. So if he tries to hide behind blockers, I'm just gonna bottom deck both of them and swing 12, 12, 7, and I should be good to go. So I just wanted to make sure before it got crazy, right? Before things got crazy, I wanted to make sure that I was not playing into my opponent's hands, you know. And he's just gonna swing a bunch of times. I think he's just gonna block her up again behind the Frankie, but this time I'm not gonna. It doesn't matter. He's at 0 life, so he plays double blocker. So I end up just going 3,000 Worlds, bottom decking the Sabo, and then Red Rock, bottom decking that guy, and then I go 7 into leader. I just don't think there's math, right? Because it's like 7 into leader, 12, and then just 12. Yeah, so the game's over right there. We'll do one more. All right, so last game we're going to go against a Shanks player. Now this deck absolutely 100% bodies Shanks, depending on the version of Shanks. I think Zoo Shanks is the only deck this deck has a really hard time into, but it is easier to deal with Zoo Shanks than it is against like Zoro, because at least, you know, they don't get the power reduction or power boost, I would say. So we're gonna start out with a clean 8k into leader. It's gonna obviously go through right there. He's gonna start out with a Nami, go into a Sanji. Now I absolutely detest that card. This is when I was still testing out the Luffy right there. I just gave him up because I'm, you know, now that he has the Nami on the board, I was starting to figure out the puzzle was starting to come together. I was starting to figure out that maybe, you know, maybe that Luffy's not very good because every deck plays searchers and they're just going to bottom deck their searcher instead because they get to choose what they bottom deck. But obviously if they have only one card on the board, they have to choose what, you know, the only card on the board. So that was the idea behind it, but definitely not the meta for Blue Luffy right now. I go ahead and Sengoku search. I was going to get a 2k, but I decided to get the blocker instead. Maybe I think the 2k was a little bit better here because at this point, in retrospect, I realized that he's playing like the Straw Hat version, and the Straw Hat version plays fucking, you know, Zoro and Luffy and Rush Luffy, the unblockable one, all this stuff right there. So that I should have done that initially, I would say. I should have realized that, but it was still pretty new to the format, like I said, so I didn't know what this guy played. Now I started out with a 5 to life because what I want him to do is I want him to counter, because now I don't have to turn my law sideways. My law, so if he didn't use his counter, if he just used his leader effect, then I had to turn my law sideways to get value. But because he didn't use his leader effect, I was able to keep the law up, but it didn't matter either way because he had the Rayleigh to get rid of it. Now, unfortunately, this deck struggles pretty hard into decks that play 8 costs, because he plays 8 costs before I can play the Kaido, and I can't bounce back his Rayleigh, unfortunately. So I think I'm just gonna have to go with a Red Rock here, or maybe I think I go double. I think I want to save the Red Rock for the Shanks, so I think I just go double. What is it called? Double blocker Doflamingos. I could not speak for a second. I believe that's the right call, and I believe that is what I'm going to do, because I want to just save the Red Rock for the Shanks. Now, unfortunately, I'm in a really bad spot right here, because if he does play Shanks, then I'm not in a great position to be able to continuously. I don't have a board set up, right? So how this deck really wants to play is I want to set up a board with like Doflamingo and Jozu and 9-cost Mihawk, and once he starts dropping big bodies, I can just like Red Rock him and keep the advantage I have, because I just, you know, negated his last turn basically with Red Rock. But because I don't have my board set up, I'm kind of in a really bad spot right here. Now, what I decide to do anyway, which is actually an awesome play by me, is instead of bouncing the Rayleigh, what I want to do is I want to bounce the Beckman, because while the Beckman is a counter, I don't want him to I don't want to bounce the Rayleigh and him keep the Beckman out. And then what happens is he plays Rayleigh again, minuses the Jozu, and it makes it way easier for him to actually get lethal in the future. I'm sorry, not lethal, but be able to kill the Jozu. So I end up bouncing the Beckman, and I end up bouncing my Sengoku, and basically, I was like, if you want to kill the Jozu with the Beckman, you're gonna have to give me an extra card as well. But now I have a 12k body on the board. When that Rayleigh turns sideways, I'm officially gonna be able to red rock anything you play, and then attack into the Rayleigh, and then I should be good to go. So that was kind of like the philosophy on that. He's gonna swing 9 into the Jozu. I'm gonna obviously counter this because, like I said, I want to keep the advantage up. I want to keep the pressure up. So, now that he doesn't have Tendon represented, I know he's not playing Shanks. So I know that whatever he's going to do isn't nearly as powerful, because if it's a dragon, whatever, right? I still have multiple bodies on the board. I can red rock the dragon. I can swing into the Rayleigh, and I'm just good to go. I can stabilize. So he's going to swing. He's going to swing 5 into leader right there. He has 8 cards in hand, so I didn't give him the pudding. I highly considered playing the pudding, actually, funny enough, but he ends up using, I believe, 2 cards to get rid of the Jozu while establishing the Beckman, and he goes back down to 6. So that was my goal. My goal was to just go, like, pudding and then red rock or something like that. I think that was the goal in mind, but he did not play into it. So he ends up drawing a Zora. Oh, I'm sorry. He didn't do that. He just went like super aggressive and took a bunch of cards out of his hand. So now that I saw he's going to play something else because he has another 5 Don represented, I just gave him the pudding because I was like, you know what? Like, he's going to go back down to a healthy amount of cards in hand, so there's no reason for me to even keep the pudding, and at least the Sengoku can find me like a law or something like that. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this. Now I'm gonna use the trigger to bottom deck, I believe it's the Zoro, because now I already have another red rock, so it doesn't really matter to me either way. I'm gonna go 12 into the 8 right here, see what he does, see if he gives me the counter or not. Works for me. Works for me. Obviously, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, I'm going to get the Mihawk here, actually. That's even better. So that's always, guys, why you always keep your Dawn active, because it's really important, because I just got the Sengoku right there, and the Sengoku got me Mihawk. If I would have put a Dawn on the Kaido to make it an even cleaner number into the Rayleigh, and then I played the Sengoku there, I wouldn't have had the ability to play the Mihawk this turn. But now I have an even better option on curve that also allows me to draw a card, which is super valuable. And I believe I actually already knew the Mihawk was coming up off the top, because I stacked earlier with Dofi. So I think that's why I did it anyway, because I knew that the Mihawk was coming up, and I knew that obviously I had a clean answer for the Luffy right there. But now, I have so many bodies on the board. The only thing this guy can do is to win is to play like Dragon, and then hopefully I don't have any blockers. But yeah, this guy's gonna go, I believe. Oh, he's gonna play a Rayleigh here. Thank God. I'm actually I'm not in an amazing position right here, guys, because if he would have gone like a Rush Luffy there and taken more counter from my hand or put me at 0, if I didn't have a blocker, I'd have to go for game this turn, and obviously, that's a little scary to say the least. So I decided to play. I was terrified of him. So what I want to do is I want him to block with the Rayleigh, because what I want to do is I want him to turn the Rayleigh sideways so I can swing into it, and then I can red rock the Nami. Because if I red rock the Nami, now he has to dedicate all of his Dawn to playing like a Rush character, and I think I have enough counter to get out of that. But I was scared if he played like Makanos or something like that. I'm not sure. Like I said, like this format's pretty new, so everyone's like playing some weird shit. So I wanted to make sure that he used the Nami to what is it called? I wanted to make sure he used the Rayleigh, but he didn't do it, and I decided to just go 6 into leader, and then 9 and then 12 into leader right there. And obviously I'm not really playing into Roger because Roger doesn't affect me here because I don't have any blockers. A lot of times what happens too is I keep track of what I have in my when I search how many 2Ks I bottom decked, and then what I also do is look in my trash to make sure I know how many 2Ks I've been through. And once I figure that out, I determine, the probability of my last life being like a counter or something like that. So that's kind of what I was looking at right there. I keep 2 Dawn up there to bait, because while I don't know what he's going to play, he doesn't know what I play either, right? Because Bo is still a pretty new deck. So he ends up going into the Dragon here. He's just going to go 9-9, and I have the ability to get out of it. In retrospect, I probably should have taken this, but like I said, I did not want him to just like, I didn't want him to like do something crazy and then me lose like a fiery doll or some shit like that, and then he gains like extra damage. But yeah, that's the video. We'll go to the recap. All right, guys. So those are the gameplay. That is the God, my English sucks. That was that, right? And like I said, this deck list is the culmination of everything that I've tested. I've probably played like 100 games of Boa before I came to this exact list. Let me know if there's anything you guys would change. What do you guys think I should, play? A lot of people are recommending to play like Perona. I honestly don't think Perona is needed in this matchup, and there's just no space for it. Or I'm sorry, not in this matchup, but in this meta, there's not a lot of space for it. I honestly can't think of like any other card that I would play. I consider playing the Borsalino because bottom decking is better than bouncing, but hitting a 4 just isn't nearly as good. I consider playing like the Sanji or whatever, but it's just not how the deck plays, I would say. So you don't have, there's not a lack of big bodies. Establishing a Doflamingo and a Jozu and then a 10 cost Kaido, like, you have plenty of big bodies. You don't need an extra one with Sanji, and it takes away from the game plan. So I don't recommend that at all. But yeah, let me know what you guys think.